You know, every house has a story to tell. And I'm not just talking about the families who've lived inside its walls. No, I'm talking about a kind of secret language, one that's spoken through drips and gurgles and groans. It's the language of your plumbing. And trust me, learning to speak it can save you a whole lot of headaches.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That weird gurgle you hear every time you flush the toilet? Or how the water pressure just isn't what it used to be? Or maybe that tiny drip, drip, drip you only hear late at night when everything's quiet? These aren't just random little quirks. They're signals. They're clues to a much bigger story that's happening just out of sight.
So to really crack this code, we're going to zoom in and use one specific town as our laboratory, Kennesaw, Georgia. Now you might be thinking, why Kennesaw? Well, it's because the very specific challenges that homes face there, from the dirt they're built on, to the trees in the yard, to their age, it all makes for a perfect case study. By decoding their problems, we can learn a ton about what might be going on in your own home, no matter where you live.
All right, so let's get into it. And believe it or not, our story doesn't start in the house. Nope, it starts deep down in the very ground that your home is built on. This is our first major character in this whole drama.
And we are not talking about just any old dirt here. In this part of the country, it's all about Georgia red clay. And you have to think of this stuff as less like soil and more like a living, breathing thing. It is a dynamic, incredibly powerful force that is constantly moving, reacting to the weather, and your home's foundation and pipes are caught right in the middle of this tug-of-war.
So here's how this relentless cycle works. During a hot, dry Georgia summer, that clay literally shrinks, pulling away from the sewer lines and the foundation. But then, the heavy rains come, and that very same clay swells up with an incredible amount of force, squeezing and pressing against the pipes. Now imagine that happening over and over, year after year. That constant pressure creates tiny hairline cracks, which, it turns out, are the perfect invitation for our next troublemaker.
Right. So once the ground has created an opening, even a tiny one, nature is incredibly opportunistic. It's just waiting to move in. And the battle for your pipes, well, it's only just getting started.
You have to understand, tree roots are basically like little heat-seeking missiles for water and nutrients. And to them, a tiny crack in a sewer line is a 5-star all-you-can-eat buffet. So what does this sound like inside your house? Well, you know that gurgling sound? That's water fighting its way past a big ball of roots. Got a bunch of drains that are all slow at the same time? That's a huge sign the main line is clogged, affecting the whole system.
So how do you even fight back against that? Well, a typical plumber snake, it's like punching a temporary little tunnel through the problem. It helps for a bit, but then you have hydrojetting. Now that is a total reset. It uses super high-pressure water to completely blast the roots and all that gunk right off the pipe walls. It basically makes the pipe new again. See the difference? One's a Band-Aid, the other is the cure.
Okay, so we've covered the bad guys on the outside, that shifting soil, the invasive trees, but now we need to look inside the walls, at the villains that might have been built into your house from the very first day. The age of your home tells a huge story. In Kennesaw and really lots of places, if your home was built before the 1980s, you almost certainly have galvanized steel pipes. Then the 80s rolled around, and we got this stuff called polybutylene, which, whoops, turned out to be a really bad idea. We now know it gets brittle and just fails catastrophically. It really wasn't until more recently that we got the reliable standards we use today, like PEX and copper.
And here is the really sneaky thing about those old galvanized pipes. From the outside, they can look perfectly fine for decades, but on the inside, it's a completely different story. They're slowly and silently rusting away, constricting the flow of water just like a clogged artery. And that's exactly why you start to see rusty water or why your water pressure gets weaker and weaker. That pipe is literally closing in on itself until, one day, it just gives up.
Okay, so we've met our cast of characters, right? We've got the shifting clay, the invasive tree roots, and those old aging pipes. Now let's connect the dots and link them directly to the signals your house has been sending you all along.
Think of this as your official decoder ring. If your water bill suddenly skyrockets and you have no idea why, it's not a mystery. It's almost certainly a hidden leak under your foundation caused by that shifting clay. Seeing brown or rusty water from the tap, that's the ghost of pipes past. It's those galvanized steel lines telling you their time is up. And hearing that gurgle from the drains? Yep, that's the sound of tree roots winning the battle in your main sewer line.
All right, so now you know how to read the signals. But knowing what's wrong is only half the battle, right? What do you actually do about it? Well, knowledge is power. And this section right here, this is your playbook for turning that knowledge into action.
Okay, I want you to remember this number, 8 to 12 years. What is it? Well, that's the average lifespan of a standard tank water heater, especially in a place with hard water like Kennesaw. Now, this isn't just trivia. Knowing this number lets you budget and plan for a replacement before you're the one waking up to a flooded garage and a shockingly cold shower.
And if you take away just one thing from all of this, please let it be this. Regular maintenance is not an expense, it is an investment. It's the difference between a plumber finding a small, easily fixed problem during a routine visit and you calling that same plumber in a panic at 2 a.m. because there's water pouring through your ceiling.
Now listen up, because this might be the single most important, practical piece of knowledge for anyone who lives in a house. Do you know, right now, exactly where your main water shutoff valve is? Do you know how to turn it off in an emergency? Because finding that out before a pipe bursts can literally save you thousands of dollars in water damage. This is non-negotiable. Homeowner 101.
Look, we used Kennesaw as our laboratory today, but the lesson here is universal. Your home has its own version of red clay. Maybe for you, it's sandy soil that shifts around. Or maybe it's brutal winter freezes. The specific challenges might be different, but the principles are exactly the same. Your home is speaking its own unique dialect, and now you have the tools to start understanding what it's saying.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you know what to listen for, what signals have you been ignoring? What's the secret history hidden away in your walls? And what is your house trying to tell you right now?